Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody in between.
He's a South Texan poppy poet living that hashtag middle-class gay life. It's Chibi.
She's a little bit Selena, a little bit J-Lo, and a whole lot of Pisces. It's Rocky.
And this is Words and Shit,
the show where you get to know the person behind the poetry.
Brought to you by Write Art Out.
Raquel. I mean, wait a second. Besides your apartment coming to life behind you,
a little bit. I'm trying different places.
Yeah. It's coming together. Outside of that, Raquel, for those that are listening on the podcast later and can't see this, has a new haircut.
Yes.
And is like rocking some like Meryl Streep salt and pepper executive boss realness over here.
Yes, thank you. I love it. It's definitely a needed change. You know what it was? I think when we had Mason on and he kept saying like, oh, I just like the salt and pepper look. And I'm like, I want that salt and pepper look already, you know? So
yes,
we can.
Tammy condones. Tammy condones. She says cute hair. I've been subtly living the salt and pepper realness life. Like you can't see it because I keep it pretty close cut, but there's a lot happening on the edges. Gotten a few in the beard. Every time a new gray hair pops out, my husband's like, daddy.
Yes. Yo, like for real, like this hair is definitely always giving me like zaddy vibes because you know, I'm out here in this like single life, taking care of me, taking care of baby. I'm baby, and Zaddy has to come correct to like take care of baby when she comes home.
There you go. I think the salt and pepper is just a reflection on the wisdom that we earn through the years.
Yes.
Right. It's every little strand is another piece of wisdom that we carry with us as we move through. And if that is true. Mm-hmm. Our guest today is probably one of the wisest people we will ever have on this show because he is rocking salt and pepper rock god to the max. Our guest today is Anthony the Poet Flores. He is a 3-time San Antonio Grand Slam poetry champion who has represented the city of San Antonio in competitions on 6 different occasions at the National Poetry Slam. He has performed his work all over the United States, from local schools and community centers to H.B.O.'s Deaf Poetry Jam to the famous Lincoln Center in New York City. He is a co-founder of Fresh Ink Under 21's Youth Poetry Slam and has also been a judge for San Antonio's La Voz citywide spoken word competition. Anthony the Poet has also recently completed his 9th year serving as judge for the San Antonio Public Library's Young Pegasus Poetry Contest, the oldest poetry contest for kids and young adults in the nation. Literature is happening in the city of San Antonio. He had released his first full-length book of poetry, Cincuenta, in January of 2020, and is a full-time poet who lives and works on the south side of San Antonio. Y'all, show some love in the comments section. You know what to do. San Antonio legend, Anthony the Poet Flores.
Hello there.
Hello. Oh my goodness. Anthony, that's goals. Your salt and pepper look, like these crazy canas and everything. That is what I want.
I'm growing a little bit extra down here so I can transfer it up here where I'm starting to sit.
Kind of like a hair liposuction. Quítale de aquí, métele pa acá, quítale de aquí, métele pa acá.
There you go. I just turned 54, so I'm starting to have to replace certain things. I lost a tooth during the pandemic. I'm still waiting to replace that. I'm losing my vision. I'm losing some hair. But I'm losing all my worries as I grow older. So that's good.
That's good.
I'm all right.
That is
good to be here. It's good to be here with you guys.
No, it's great to have you over here too. So we always start off the section because we're going to be talking about, you know, getting intimate with you, getting to know a little bit about you. So we want to do a quick check-in of like, how's your heart today, friend? Like, how's your heart today, yesterday, this week, this month, this year, during this banderia, like wherever you feel your heart is taking you to speak.
My heart? Are you talking about my heart?
Yes.
Oh, wow. That's the coolest question I've ever had, I think. My doctor has asked me. No, actually, my doctor hasn't even asked me because I don't have a doctor. My heart is in a great place. I've had it's been a very difficult time, the pandemic thing that we've been in through almost 2 years now. But I never had a chance to panic. I never ran out of words. I've been lucky enough to have continued writing and being able to work in schools and to sell my merchandise and to just keep busy volunteering a lot of stuff. So my heart is in a good place. I'm happy. I'm gonna knock on wood somewhere because I've managed to stay healthy and to keep doing a whole bunch of stuff. So yeah, I feel good. I can hear it.
Yeah, love to hear it. Love to hear it. And I can't wait to dive into conversation with you about all the things that you've been doing and what you have planned for the future, because you are a busy man.
Yeah.
But before we get into the deep conversation, what we like to do is open up with a section that we like to call speed dating. So we're going to ask you a small series of questions so that the audience can get to know you just a little bit. Feel free to answer as in-depthly or as concisely as you feel is necessary to justify your answers, okay?
Okay.
All right.
I'm nervous. Yeah, y'all didn't tell me about this. All right, let's go.
Here we go. Question number 1. When and or where do you feel like you do your best writing?
After midnight and alone in my room.
Okay.
With a beer.
Salud.
Yeah, I'm a late night. I take care of my 94-year-old mama, so she's quite a handful during the day, and we have shifts. So it's not until about 10 o'clock that I get to have a little bit of peace and quiet, and then by midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, I'm ready to open up my notebooks. I do a lot of drawing. I've been selling a lot of drawings. I have a bunch of classes to prepare and poems to write. So that's when I get to have some peace in order to do that.
Oh, that's awesome. Great. Okay. So my question is, what is the weirdest thing that nobody would think that would actually bring you joy, like the most joy in your life?
I have, the weirdest thing is that I recently got into video games. I never thought I would be able to enjoy them. I always thought they were a waste of time. But my son, who's 11 years old, is big time into video games, and he has gotten me addicted to them. You would think that a 54-year-old guy would not be all excited about the new Oculus VR experience, and I've got that headset on now, and I'm running around playing Gorilla Tag and everything else that these little kids are doing, and so I don't think anybody would picture me at this point in life doing that. So I would think they would find that as a surprise.
That was a surprise. It was a good one.
Look, I feel you. I'm in the same place. I will just recently picked it up, and I was like, all right, let's go. Like,
we had he had been telling me for months too that the new Oculus was coming out. I didn't even know what it was, but it was going to be a little pricey. So we actually had to plan ahead a few months to do extra gigs and pick up extra money, but it's been worth it. We have fun, and old people fall down very often when they're VRing. They bump into walls, they break things, and the kids just laugh at them like, "What? Why did you jump off of that cliff? You're not supposed to jump off it." I'm like, I didn't jump. I fell off of it. We don't have the right circuitry, I don't think, to be doing too well in those worlds. But I'm doing my best to adapt.
I just love that the Oculus is bringing generations together.
Oh yeah, it's great. It's great.
The Oculus is not a proud sponsor of Words and Shit, but if they're looking, we'll take sponsorships.
We would like some accessories as well.
Yeah,
yes, please.
We had been going. My son and I we got hooked on it first at a Dave & Buster's and other places where you can go play it live. But when the pandemic had the resurgence with the Delta variant, we decided we were going to stop going out as often. So. It was not only a tool to have fun at the house, but it was just a way to avoid crowds and things in public that we had been doing a little too much of, and like the rest of the people out there, we were getting a little too comfortable with the thing, and so
pull it back a little.
Yeah, pull it back. But
I love
now we do it here at the house.
Staying safe. Yes, yes, yes. All right. Speaking of other things one does at the house, I know are a taco connoisseur.
Oh yes, yes, yes.
You have a palate for good Mexican food. So my question is, what is your favorite food dish to eat?
My favorite food dish to eat? Oh Lord, you can't be asking me that seriously. I have so many things. I will come up with an answer as specific answer as I think about this. But I've been cooking a lot, and more often now that we've been in this pandemic situation. So I'm discovering that I not only like to eat food, but I like to make it. And I've been writing a lot about food for many years, and now I'm writing a lot more about food. But anything with meat, like carne guisada, brisket, barbecue, like from good old Tex-Mex stuff, or parrilladas from Mexico, like anything on the grill. Any dead animal. I'm sorry to all my vegan friends and all my vegetarian friends. But yeah, steak would be great.
All right. I'll take it. You're welcome over anytime.
All right, I love it. Oh yeah, you cook.
Phenomenal cook.
Oh, well, there you go. I'll get your address after this.
There you go. Post panaderia. Let's do it.
All right. So this is our last question, but I feel like, I've been wanting the gray like hair, hence my dye, right? Because it comes with wisdom, comes with years of just being like.
I'll trade you. Your look looks really. I think I can pull that off. Maybe a couple of weeks. I think after a couple of hours, you'll probably get tired of this look. So I don't know. But yeah, let's see. What is the question?
Yeah. So, what is the best piece of wisdom that you can give to us, to a younger generation and an older generation too?
Best piece of wisdom. Oh Lord, you guys, this is not speed dating. This is like
sorry.
Look.
Cranium crushing or something like that.
This is all her. She does this every week where it's like simple questions. What was the most impactful piece of wisdom?
No, it's something that was always told to me. I think this is what I would stick to. There's many good answers for this, but what I've worked with over 20,000 kids in San Antonio in just like the last decade here, but always what it comes back to, the answer is like that if we're going to be creators, or we're going to write, or not only as poets or artists or anybody who has to document stuff, like scientists, anybody, like the actual writing down of things, and to keeping notebooks and records in a dated and organized style. And that is ultimately, I think, one of the greatest things that we can do if we're serious about anything. So writing things down, keeping notebooks, keeping your journals, and every idea that comes along, to write it down as quickly as possible, because they do fade away. I've made the mistake very often of putting things off, like maybe even just 20 minutes, an hour, and I seriously can't remember it. So if we're serious about anything, we should be writing stuff down, and keeping a good record of our feelings and our thoughts, and everything that comes through our brains and our hearts.
Oh, that's such a great advice. I feel like we don't document enough, right?
I agree.
And I've seen your documentation. You are very much a notebook writer. Like, you document a lot, so I can only imagine how much more there would be if those little pieces hadn't escaped you. Because you write a lot.
I do. I write every day, and I don't think it's stubborn. I do use the new technologies and the microphones, and I let that transcribe in the new ways. But I am addicted to old school longhand. I write everything out and edit on paper, and it's only after everything is done that I have a novella stuff at the house, 80-page things, and it's all on paper, and it's like hundreds and hundreds of notebooks. So yeah, I sketch, and I write, and I jot everything down. So I am as Chibi said, Mr. Ordunia said, I do document quite a bit.
Quite a prolific writer. Well, let's just jump right into it then. We're going to transition into some poetry and then deep into the conversation. For y'all that are watching live right now at home in Facebook Landia and YouTubeville, the comment section is there. We see the comments. We interact with our audience. If you have questions you want to throw at Anthony, drop them in the comment section. We'll get to them. So use that. We're watching it. Thank you. But Anthony, if you could please, let's kick things off officially with a poem.
A poem, I love it. I think I'm gonna take advantage because nobody can tell me anything. I'm over here on the other side of the world. I very often don't get to read a whole bunch of things that that are a little bit different. So I'm gonna write something that I've never read out loud in front of anybody. I started writing a whole bunch of quarantine pieces at the beginning of this time when it was really, really crazy, and just very quickly I was people were freaking out about not being able to go out, and they thought I heard the terms martial law and we were going to be like contained to the house. We couldn't go out. Everybody was worried, and I went to the store all nervous, thinking I couldn't even walk to the store to get beer, and I heard this guy saying in a very upset way to the counter person. I was like, nobody's gonna tell me I can't go visit my girlfriend. And I was like, what? So I'm like, that was funny. And after the guy left, the guy at the counter was like, nombre, su girlfriend, she lives like 2 houses down from him. And I was like, this is funny. So I went home and I wrote this piece. Again, never heard before. Let's see, never read it. It is called Love in Quarantine Time. Yes, I will go and visit my love, even though military helicopters hover and whirl above. I will patiently wait throughout the day, then come fall of night through back alleys, stealthily steal away. I will share shadow space in which to hide with funky skunks and stray cats, and scurry and climb along fence lines like the sublimest of rats. I'll sneak and I'll peek and I'll head over heels roll just to reach the sweet lady whose light burns in my soul. I will crawl in the dark, I will crouch, then I'll scuttle, unafraid, looking up at any drone spotlight rebuttal. I mean, with love as his wings, there's no telling how far a Romeo will get when called by her sweet voice to the lips of his own Juliet. If I had to, I'd Chicano ninja my way clear across town. I'm just glad that my love lives only 4 houses down. I just imagine performing that at some point, like with and actually doing the little ninja rolls and stuff on stage. But I might be getting a little too old for that.
Nah.
No, I think
proper stretching.
No. Yeah, I feel like you've always had such a liveliness to you, how you talk, how you present yourself, even when you perform poetry, that even though you said you're in your 50s, it doesn't click to me. Like in my mind, I'm like, no, Anthony is a spryly like 30-something-year-old.
Yeah, that's how I feel every time I end up hurting my knee. Because I'm over there, I'm jumping around with the kids and stuff. I'm like, darn it, I forget that I'm old. Yeah, I forget all the time.
Look, like Chris Billings just said, not old, just older.
Older. All right, I like that.
Yes.
You know, one of the things that I love about your poetry is you literally find inspiration in everything.
Oh, yes.
Like you have a poem. I think you are one of the people that is very much in tune with just like finding inspiration and celebration in the most mundane, small little things. Like where does that come from? Your like attention to detail, connection to the world. Like where was that cultivated?
I don't know. I just I'm very hyper, and I'm always I'm in order to maybe not annoy people in the world. I think maybe I did that as a kid. I was just always talking like, oh, look at that. Oh, this feels so good. Like I just shut up, and they became internal voices. But yeah, I listen to people talking, and when I go home, I do the dialogue that I just heard in the middle of the street, and I'm like, oh, that would make a great character, and like So every little thing that I see out there, that I hear out there, it's just it's ripe for plucking as a possible idea for something, for a poem, a story, a joke. I write a lot of jokes. That's another thing that I could have said for that answer in the speed dating. A lot of people do not know that I'm a secret stand-up comic. Although I do it sitting down in my house. So, but I write a lot of jokes, and I did a whole one-man show one day as just a practice. I'm like, all right, I have all these ideas. Let's do it. Pretending in front of the camera, and I did a whole show, and that was freaking great, but only to myself. But yeah, maybe one day so I write a lot of jokes, and so that observation, that just doing voices and jotting down ideas and looking at the details in life, they apply to everything that I do. So I don't know. I just do it all the time.
No, and I think you're just like so good about it, right? Like I think your brain is constantly finding alliterations, finding words of inspiration. Like every time you speak, it's like, all right, oh, that could be a poem, and like let me just do some little wordplay while I'm talking. And it's been amazing. So have you always been like that? Like I can imagine, like as young Anthony, like in your in elementary school, were you always so quick with your words, or where did this develop?
It's been like that my whole life. I think I just said maybe I'm super hyper. Maybe I know I'm OCD and possibly HDAD or whatever those things are. Although I don't know. Maybe maybe that's just normal. But I've always been like very, very hyper, very active. Like I can't rest. It's like even after a long week, say I'm done with a whole bunch of things that were keeping me up or I was stressed out about, and it's like you would think that I would take a couple of days off and like, oh no, I'm done with that. Like I got other things I can do, and it's just I'm very restless in every way.
Well, clearly, at this point, like it says in your bio, like you're a full-time poet. Poetry is your life. It is your name. You are Anthony the poet. Period.
The poet.
You know. So I'm curious, like, where did this whole poetry thing begin? Where did poetry come into your life? Where did it start?
Oh, that's a very, very solid moment in my brain. I remember specifically, and I tell this to all the kids. It was in second grade. I had never written a poem before. A teacher named Miss Hines put up a whole bunch of different photos all over the room, and it was our poetry writing module, I guess. And so she asked us to write poems, to write one poem about one picture. And in about 10 minutes, I had written about 10 poems about 10 of the different pictures. It just came up automatically. And then she read them, she loved them, and she was like, later she came to my desk and she's like, oh, it's my mom's birthday this weekend. Do you think you can write me a birthday poem for her? And she pulled my desk up to the front of the class and turned it around. So I was sitting next to her facing the class. And I remember all the kids looking at me like, what the hell is he doing up there? And I remember like, it's because I'm writing a poem, motherfuckers. And it just felt special. It felt, and I wrote it, and she actually cried. She said I didn't see her cry. She later told me that she cried, and so she put it in a card for her mama, and I never stopped writing poems ever since. There's a poem in my book Cincuenta about that somewhere, but I'm not going to read that today. But yeah, it documents that moment, and I went on and kept writing through middle school, high school. I studied poetry at the University of Pennsylvania. I studied in Philadelphia for 4 years. I lived there for 6. I came back to San Antonio. I never read anywhere. I was always very shy. I still am very shy. I get very, very nervous before performances and stuff. I get sick to my stomach, actually. But for many years, all through college, there were poetry open mics at Penn, at my university, and in Philadelphia. I would go to coffee houses with my notebooks and never, ever read until I found Pudosam in 2000. I was 33 years old. And I guess it was the combination of beer and poetry that did it. And I just have continued. So it's been a journey that began in second grade when I was whatever I was, 7 years old, 6 years old. And
Wow, what a journey. I think that a lot of people start writing, or they feel like they give themselves permission to write when they're in high school or college, right? After they find some type of writing session. So the fact that you've been writing since you were 7, and it's a testament, right? Because in San Antonio, I think you can never not think about San Antonio poetry without thinking Anthony the poet, right? In some way or form.
hey,
Yeah, and I think you've also been such an icon. You've really are, yeah, just an icon for San Antonio poetry. And so I kind of want to know, since you've been in the scene for a bit, like have you been your favorite points of poetry in San Antonio, and where have you feel like we could do better, or are you excited to see what the future holds for literary?
oh, that's a cool question. I've been telling people very quietly over like the last 15 years that I think San Antonio is the poetry capital of the United States. We have stuff, especially before the pandemic. I mean, there was stuff happening every single day. On a Monday, you could go see jazz poets, you could go see sun poets, you could go get drunk at a slam, and there was teen stuff. There's people reading at the universities. We have a great academic poetry program that has developed in San Antonio throughout the years, and it's just I've been to many other cities, and I'm like, oh, let me go see what's going on poetry wise tonight. And I'm like, no, there's nothing. When my daughter moved to New York City many years ago, she was used to this National Poetry Month catalog that comes out here in San Antonio, and this is like over 150 events happening in just that month in celebration of National Poetry Month. She went to New York, and she was at the libraries. She said, I went around asking for the catalog for National Poetry Month, and they didn't even have one in New York City. And so the testament that is that National Poetry Month catalog that the city prints out and distributes in excess of 10,000 copies every year is just an indication of how much poetry exists in San Antonio, and all the different types, and in every part of the city, and it's just awesome. San Antonio is, I think, just don't tell everybody because too many people are moving here already, but yeah, I think it's the place to be for a poet, and there's so many cool things happening here.
You are so right. There are so many different scenes and styles and types of poetry that is happening in the city, and I don't know how, like, it's slowly coming back to life post pandemonium, but it is definitely like any night of the week you could go to some sort of poetry event. There's so many indie presses out of San Antonio and South Texas. What, in your opinion, what do you feel like is I don't know if it's getting in the way, or why doesn't the rest of the world know that like San Antonio and South Texas has this incredible literary hub that seems to be underrecognized?
I think we get underrecognized in so many different ways. The San Antonio Spurs have won 5 championships. They're still considered a small market. They still don't get the TV coverage. We have some of the world's best graphic designers, and while the same graphic designers could be getting $6,000 for a logo in New York City or in LA, right here in San Antonio, the companies want to pay them like $500. It was like, whoa. I think it's just the entire culture here. I don't know exactly where that stems from, but I think it affects the arts as well. Until recently, the city, whenever it wanted to commission art pieces for public viewing and stuff, they would very often just go to outside sources. Again, big time artists in New York City and Chicago and Miami, other places, instead of hiring local talent. There's always been this I don't know, this backward thinking here in town that San Antonio artists are not as good as other big cities. People in France and England, like we have such tremendous talent here, and I think people are starting to recognize that and to fairly compensate the local talent in ways that are equal to those people who are doing most of our things. And for some reason, people don't think there are poets here. But what is the phrase? You can't throw a stone like too far. You can't throw you can't throw an elote too far here in San Antonio without hitting a poet. And it's like, whoa. And I know this for sure because for the last 10 years, in many different ways, I've had to hire poets for different things. When we get big shows, I do Noche in la Gloria, Dia de los Muertos, big time music events, and they're like, find 3 poets, and it's like I can't even say it out loud or post it because there's like there's like 300 poets who will be like, yo, it's me, and they're all of presentable quality. Like I would hire all of them. So they're here and they're doing all kinds of really, really cool things. There's a whole bunch of people publishing their own things. The Guadalupe just opened up a Latino bookstore this last weekend, and it's just there's you guys. I mean, doing cool online stuff, magazines, and it's just everywhere. It's just everywhere.
Who has been your like favorite poet to collaborate with, or poets? Like maybe like top, if you can't do like a one, just maybe top 3
to collaborate with.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hold on, my this thing is gonna die. I need my tech over here. Joshua Winwriter, will you come up? Will you connect?
Our production assistant, Joshua Winwriter.
No.
He's here, Zoe, and he knows how to hook up. He can bring an extension and just copy. I've had the young kids that I started working with, Andrea Vocab Sanderson, our current San Antonio Poet Laureate, and I had been working with youth way back in the day, and we helped co-found Fresh Ink Under 21 Youth Poetry Slam back then, and so I got to do a whole bunch of shows with the kids, and even when she was not around, opportunities started opening up in the schools and in conferences and things where these young kids that we were working with were being invited to go talk to other kids about writing and how to perform and how to speak in public and all these cool things. And unfortunately she's no longer here with us, but Kelly Taylor Morgan Greenwood, who was the 2012 youth poetry champion here in San Antonio. Mm-hmm. She was my go-to poet for like 2 years and remains my favorite person to collaborate with. Any show, she was fearless. Any show, anytime, no matter how big the crowd, no matter what part of town, no matter what day of the week, she was always like super enthusiastic. She would go out there and she would be my number one poet to call for anything, and she would always deliver with the highest quality, the most eloquent style, and so she remains my favorite person to have collaborated and worked with and do shows with, even though we only did it for about 3 years.
Yeah.
But there are many.
Yeah, that's amazing because you have worked with so many poets throughout the years, and I want to dive more into your work with the youth. But I think this is a good kind of pivot point as we're changing topics a little. If you can kind of like reset us with another poem. Let's hear another poem, and then we'll dive into your work with the youth here in San Antonio.
In San Antonio. All right. Oh, here, I'll do I read this one recently for the first time, but I like it. I post a lot of stuff spontaneously. It's one of my coolest things to do for myself. A lot of the poems I post on Facebook every few days, and I post them like cold off the top of my head. They're not pre-written, so it's a little game I play with myself, and that's where this one began, and it's still more or less where it came. This is called "I Want Guacamole" on my taco, and it was it's about something very painful. Maybe y'all have connections to this pain. I want guacamole on my taco. Do you really call that adding guacamole to my taco? It's more like you're subtracting from the inherent faith I had in you and in mankind. I come from a very long line of great and ancient poetic and mathematical minds, and so I know how to carefully weigh the fairness of my words. And therefore, I say this only because you charged me an extra $1.50. I ordered guacamole, not guacamole, not guaca, not guac, not gua. I do see a little speck of bright green in there, I think, but I'm not in the mood to take out my magnifying glass. I'm not usually one to complain, but I would like to see and to taste every single delicious avocadic syllable. Please do not give me gua or guac or guaca or guacamole. I want guacamole on my taco. There you go.
Oh, so true. They so skimpy with the guacamole.
Every now and then, it's like that was an extra $2.50. Seriously, like
Yeah.
if I was a more courageous man, I would bring an avocado in my pocket to every restaurant I went to, and I just bust out my own guac. But I don't have that kind of courage.
Nah, I think you could definitely get away with this. Sometimes I bring my little travel tahini just to like add stuff to things. Like, this needs a little spice.
Yeah, you guys who do that kind of stuff, that you are very this, like I said, I don't have the courage. Many years ago, I saw a guy pull out his own Tabasco sauce or picante sauce at the movies, and popped it all over his popcorn. I'm like, that guy brought hot sauce in his pocket, and it was like 20 years ago, 15 years ago, and I was like, I can't do that. I'm like, I don't. It just wowed me. It's like he's packing picante.
No, I think my favorite thing to see is when people in New York, they have Korean barbecues where you cook your own like meat. And then bring people Latinos, they'll bring their own like tortillas so they can like warm it up, like I said, like the Korean barbecue. And I was like, that's brilliant. That's brilliant.
Love it. Tortillas at the Korean barbecue.
Well, I want to talk about your work, your writing style, because like we said, you work with the youth a lot, and you also you don't shy away from heavy or serious subjects. But you do it in such a way that is so digestible to audiences of all ages. Like I think one of the first poems that I heard you read was Papeles, right? And you're talking about, coming across the border with or without papeles, getting stopped by immigration, all that in such a comedic way while still driving a very serious points. Like where do you find this balance? Because it always, all your poems have an air of fun to them, but that doesn't mean that you don't talk about serious things, right?
Yeah. I feel bad. Like I feel bad when I write serious stuff because I think I'm boring people, and so I always I try to find a little slant, a little side door somewhere where maybe I can touch upon issues. I tell people that I don't write political poems, and then people are like, "Well, what about this poem? What about?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, that is political, but it was but it was more along like a funny political." It's like, oh, dude, it's not funny. I mean, it sounds funny, but it's hardcore. I'm like, oh, I never thought about that. But yeah, the immigration issue way back in around 2006 or 2005 when I wrote that piece was really, really bad, and I didn't feel like I want to be a preacher when I write poetry, and heavy issues and topics. I do try to present in a more palatable way. And that's usually what comes out, some kind of humorous aspect or angle, and maybe it's tied into my closet comedian stand-up comic dude that but yeah, it's I do have a few pieces that nobody knows about that do deal with serious issues in a very serious tone, but I haven't read too many of those. But yeah, you're correct. It's just
well, I think it also makes them very teachable, as something that can be easily shared to inspire young writers. Because I think sometimes poetry can come across a little too heady, right? And people are like, I don't get poetry, but you're a brilliant example of poetry that can be enjoyed by everyone.
Thank you, sir. I I'm glad you think that.
No, that's what I was saying. Like, it's the wittiness of how you speak, even to just to us or just outside. It's just so it's so brilliant. Really, it really, really is. Like, you are always constantly thinking about puns, like bringing in these poetic like devices, and just on a whim. And that's, I think, what's the brilliance of not only how you're in community with people, but your poetry as well. So
yeah. I think Buddha Slam had a lot to do with that as well, because it was the first time in my life that I had ever heard poetry presented in such an entertaining way, and I think that's one of the coolest aspects of spoken word and slam is that it's friggin' entertaining, you know. It's funny, it's loud, it's rock and roll, it keeps you on the edge of your seat, it keeps you coming back, it makes you laugh, it makes you cry. There's a lot of very sad poems, but they're presented in such a way that they move you in a big time way. And I interviewed Naomi Shihab Nye last weekend, which was awesome. She's one of my favorite poets on the entire planet, and she talked to me about that very same thing. I had asked her what she thought about Amanda Gorman reading at Joe Biden's inauguration, and about Brandon Leak winning America's Got Talent with spoken word. He won the $1 million. He was the big time winner in 2020. So she was like, she couldn't stop gushing about how much she loved spoken word and hip hop and rap and poetry slam, and how it has its place its proper place in the great canon of poetry. And so that was just amazing for somebody like her to say, a world-renowned poet, acknowledging and the presence and the awesomeness of slam poetry. And one of the things that I always found very powerful about slam poetry and spoken word is its entertainment aspect. You go to a poetry slam, and sometimes there's 200 people there, there's 100 people there. You go to a little poetry reading at a bookstore at a college, you get like 10, 15 people. So there's something drawing people in, and it's really awesome. And I think the entertainment aspect is something that is always talking to me in the back of my brain when I'm writing, especially something that I know might be performed in front of people in the future.
No. And I love that you talk about, slam poetry and especially in San Antonio. I feel like slam poetry or spoken word poetry is what I see the most here in San Antonio. And I think I would definitely want to talk about, not only you, but you also have like this generational presence, right, with your daughter, Amanda, being in Puro Slam too, also doing the spoken word. And I just want to know, like, I don't think I've ever asked even Amanda, herself, but how was that to like have another poet, your daughter is a poet, y'all are both in Puro Slam, seeing her compete. How did that feel, like, as a father, as a San Antonio poet icon? How's that dynamic?
Oh, it was awesome and very fun, and it was getting to a big time point. I thought we were gonna keep. There were things in my brain that we were gonna go on tour and do the academic circles, the colleges and stuff. But she had her own plans up in New York City. But while it lasted, we did so many shows, and we got to perform at dozens and dozens of schools throughout the city, and we have work that pairs well together, and we write for classes and for youth very often. And so the partnership was really cool. It was it helped us. Well, I don't know about her, but I think it did her as well. But it helped me get a whole bunch of jobs. It helped me establish myself in the schools, and we got a lot of media coverage. The father-daughter duo. I think I can count at least 4 or 5 major articles that the Express News put out in just about 3 or 4 years on both of us. And so she was fun to deal with when she wasn't difficult to deal with. We're both Virgos, and so we both always think we're right, and yeah, and I don't know, she's my daughter, so.
There's that too. I mean, just one of the examples of the many ways that you've worked with youth, going into schools and performing both by yourself and with your daughter. You started Fresh Ink, the under 21 youth poetry slam, been a judge for La Voz here in San Antonio. Like, you do a lot of work with the youth. What is it that drives you to this kind of work?
I don't. What drives me to this work? I just finished my ninth year too of serving as a judge for the San Antonio Public Library's Young Pegasus Poetry Contest, and I think it just came naturally. Like I said, I had never read before I was 33 in public, and then I found Poodle Slam, and within about a year after Poodle Slam, I had people who had just seen me out there had asked me to do certain plays, and a very, very bad movie. Y'all should check out this movie called Tortillas Again. My son loves to watch it just to laugh his butt off. It's so badly written, and the acting is so bad, and I am the featured actor. But it was just something they gave us a script, and they said, no, don't forget about the script. Just do this. And so it came out really, really bad. My daughter and her friends at Trinity University, when she was back in school, they would get beer and wine and just watch it just to make fun of how bad the movie was. So, yeah. So Poodle Slam got me about 3 or 5 major plays here in San Antonio. Theater plays. I really liked theater. It was great while it lasted. Then I did the movie, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, teachers kept calling me and asking me to go to their schools, and just word of mouth. Like, I never promoted myself. I never printed up business cards or said I'm a teaching poet, or I'll go to your schools. It just started to roll, and that's how it's been going for about 10 years or more now. People just call me and can I go to the school, and we have money, and it's cool now. A lot of people have budgets to have visiting artists coming to the schools, from visual artists to musicians and poets. So it's fed me, and it's been fun, and it's just been going on for many moons, all through just teachers recommending me to other teachers, recommending me to other schools, and that's how it's been.
I mean, again, I think this is a testament of, your work and what you've done. And you've written so much, right? I'm like, oh, look at these like little cameos. I love it.
That was my tech.
Production assistant.
Oh, there you go. He had to go and let the cat is taking over the second portion of the show, so he had to let the cat in.
No problem. No, actually, yeah. Does your son, like, is he about poetry, or just like did this stop with Amanda and he's just like, I'm doing my own little thing. I'm discovering my own self.
Yeah, when Amanda took off to New York City, and I knew we weren't gonna do the stuff that I had some of the things that I had planned, I was like, man, this guy, he's only like 4 or 5. Like, we're gonna become a great poetry duet. We're gonna make millions of dollars. We're gonna go, but after going, I've been homeschooling him since he was in 1st grade, and his mom is homeschooling him this year. But he would go to all of my classes, all the workshops I taught for many years, and he would be like, yeah, it's okay. No, I would never do poetry, Dad. I'm like, what? Like, yeah, no, I don't. I'm like, dude, we could make money. We could get famous. We could get a gigantic house. We could buy cars. We could eat real nice. He's like, no, don't. Do not talk to me about it. I'm not gonna do it. He likes designing stuff. He's a filmmaker. He likes creating videos and things of that nature. So
I see nothing wrong here.
Yeah.
You write the poems. He films the poems.
Yeah.
You can still be a team.
There you go. He knows how to use all these design programs like Photoshop and all these film editing things, and he's been doing that since he was 7. So he's got his own interests, and pretty soon I will I will take advantage of those interests.
There you go. There you go. Well, like Rocky is saying, like you've written a lot. You have you talk about how you write every day. You are quite a prolific writer. Been writing since you were in second grade, performing since the year 2000, and yet you only recently decided to publish this fantastic collection of books called Cincuenta, which I am assuming is because you were turning 50. Here's 50 years worth of poetry. Why wait so long? And what was the journey to get to this book?
Oh, it's I've always hated the word submission since college when we were supposed to be submitting poems regularly according to some of our professors. I just would not do it. I'm like, I don't want to. I heard, and I don't remember who it was from. Maybe it was when I was in high school. If you're going to be interested in writing, dude, the publishing people, they just take advantage of you. For every dollar that they make off of you, they're going to give you like 3 pennies. And it was just like this great negative things like, you'll be lucky if you can buy a loaf of bread every week. And so I'm like, what? And so I always had that in the back of my brain. And so from contests to submission calls to sending stuff out to magazines and to publishers, it just never interested me. And I wasn't even interested in publishing to begin with, like or selling my work until pretty recently when I found out that it was a very nice way to stay alive. I started just making individual copies of my poems about 7-8 years more or less, and at all my readings I was selling out and reprinting, and then started my own t-shirt line, Anthony the Poet t-shirt line that uses some of the phrases that I like from my poems, some little quotes and things, and people have been buying stuff up like very, very nicely for the last few years. And so the book thing is the latest thing to come along. I have about 3 or 4 finished books that have been compiled and are just waiting to be printed up. And it just, I always find myself going off and doing other things when I should be maybe focusing on just getting the books out. But since I have been blessed to remain busy and just doing the teaching thing, the performing thing, the drawing thing, there are many projects on the back burner that are just waiting there to happen. But yeah, that's why it took so long. I was just not interested in putting stuff out. But recently, in the last few years, the self-publishing world has gained like such a positive aspect. It used to be like if you self-publish your work, it was because nobody else wanted to print it, or it was the only way other people were going to read it, and it was just looked down upon. But I think that was just the whole culture of the big established publishing institutions. But so many people are making their own CDs, their own music, their own recording, they're publishing their own books, their T-shirts, and just like doing everything on their own. It's like such an independent artist world nowadays, and I think that's it just fit in perfectly as far as timing goes for me. And I got a whole bunch of stuff that I'm hoping to finish up soon. So yeah. I'm glad it finally got out there. I never thought I'd be able to make a full-time living off of poetry, and having to mix in like the workshops and the public appearances and the teaching and things that I never thought I would want to do. It's managed to become a little career, and I don't know how long it's gonna remain that way, but the publishing stuff is the major way that I've been able to continue to do this.
Yeah. We've got this great question in the audience from Lauren. She says she's in the same boat, but had recently been considering publishing. So I guess she's talking about like, all this like submissions and blah, 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 and just being like, not worth my time, but now considering publishing. Any advice for someone trying to get their work published for the first time?
I've been who's that, Lauren? Hello?
Lauren, yes.
Lauren. The cool thing is about like well for me, I've been lucky to I've just kept doing what I do, and what I was mentioning about people just hearing me someplace and hiring me like to go into their schools or to go MC big events or perform at music festivals and things of that nature. That's the same thing that I've been doing with my writing. Like I say, I've never been interested in sending stuff out, but I have been finding over the years that the more I just keep doing what I'm doing and publishing my own stuff, whatever. Like now in I can name at least like 5 or 6 instances in just the last few months where people are contacting me about publishing my stuff. It's not like I'm not sending stuff out. This interview that I just did with the famous, awesome Naomi Shihab Nye, it was somebody just contacted me over the internet on Gmail and saying they had some money and they wanted to do an interview on Naomi Shihab Nye about the Young Pegasus Poetry Contest and about her work with youth. She is currently the Poetry Foundation's National Youth Poet Laureate. So they're interested. They were interested in everything that she wanted. She's doing with the kids nowadays, and so they contacted me, and now they're going to be publishing this interview in their publication in a few weeks. So that's the one thing I would suggest to people, especially in a world where self-publishing is always a good option, and it's very, very economical nowadays. You could print up 100, 500 copies of your book and not go broke. And then if you promote them properly, and if you do have a following, and if you diligently go out and perform and teach, you could make some decent money off of that. But if failing that, you'd rather go the traditional publishing way. I think just maintaining that discipline, that doing the things that you were always doing, and keeping yourself out there, and hopefully you can draw attention to your work. That's what I would say.
Perfect. I think we can kind of end on that like great word of wisdom. Really. Yeah. And if you could just kind of thank you so much. Really, this has been a pleasure. I feel like the hour just flew by. There's not enough time to talk with you, Anthony. Really, you just have so much knowledge and so much to offer.
Thank you.
Poetry community. No problem.
I have enjoyed this. Thank you for the invitation. And if anybody's out there, or if you guys replay this or record it anywhere, anybody can find me for any questions or anything at Anthony the Poet. Just Google Anthony the Poet or anthonythepoet@gmail.com. I think Chibi had it some. Oh, there you go.
There you go. So if you can, Anthony, please just share one more amazing poem with us.
Poem. What are y'all in the mood for? Oh, I know what I'm gonna read. I'm gonna stay funny, and I'm gonna stay with the pandemic stuff, because I never get y'all got to read y'all got to hear stuff that nobody has heard except for that guacamole piece.
Yeah. You did.
Also, I'm gonna be very thirsty later on. If I think Chibi has like my tip information there, my virtual tip jar. Y'all can send me money for a beer or something. I'm Anthony the Poet everywhere on Venmo, Cash App, PayPal. I'm gonna do this one to close you guys out, and thank you very much. I hope you enjoy Brooklyn. And again, your hair looks awesome.
Thank you.
And Chibi, you are a treasure to the poetry of San Antonio. So thank you for starting this whole thing. This is a piece I wrote way back on March the 30th, also at the beginning of the pandemic, because I have a very big family. We live very close together, and at 54, I happen to be the young one. It's like again, I forget that I'm older, and it's my oldest sister is like 72. I can't believe it sometimes when I think about this, but it turned out that I was the one required at the beginning of the pandemic to go do the shopping, to go find toilet paper, to go find everything. We were out of everything. So as the young kid in the bunch, I was doing the shopping. Nobody else could go out. We have people who are sick, old. So I was out there all the time. It was an adventure for me. I remember I searched for like 3 weeks or 4 weeks just to find some ramen noodles for my son because it was like, there's no ramen noodles. And everybody was sweeping them up. But toilet paper is one of the things that I had the hardest time with. I couldn't find enough for my family and stuff. And so I wrote this based on the day I finally came across some. This is called Toilet Paper. Trust me, you will find that big package of toilet paper. And when you do, here are a few tips to truly enjoy the experience. If you are not in the process of either being trampled or glared to death, take the time to listen to that sky-splitting light bursting forth from the clouds, Alleluia moment. Take the crinkly package in your hands and sincerely talk to it. Say something funny or romantically spontaneous, no matter how absurd it sounds. Say to those 12 mega rolls of ultra soft Charmin something like, yes, I've been a very dirty boy. Or, I've been looking for you in every crack and crevice of the city, my love. Let's go sit somewhere quiet and get to know each other a little better. Mm-hmm. Do not scream and do not yell and do not do the leaping side scissors in midair with your legs as you run down the aisle at H.B.O. Go straight to the register and stand there quietly and reverently and be silently humble and grateful for a few moments. On the way home, say hello to the trees you pass on the side of the road. Tell them thank you. Say that once this whole thing is over, you're going to plant a few of them. Maybe start a garden, recycle more diligently, and do whatever it takes so that we don't find ourselves in this kind of mess again, no matter how absurd it sounds.
Mm.
Yay!
Thank you.
One more time for Anthony the Poet Flores in the comment section. Carmen says, I'm a poet new to San Antonio. Can't wait to hear you read. Other poets have told me how wonderful you are.
Yay, yay. Find me. Yeah. We're going to be doing there's some really cool things coming up. I just got our second poet laureate of the city, Laurie Ann Guerrero, just sent me a flyer that she's doing a big reading at, she's the poet in residence at Texas A&M University. So next Wednesday, and there's going to be a big reception after that. So that usually means free food and wine. So y'all should come. Just Google me, Anthony the Poet, and I have a page called Poets of San Antonio where I post a whole bunch of poetry stuff that's happening all over the city whenever I have time, or if it comes across my feed. So yes, I look forward to meeting you as well, ma'am.
There you go.
Yes, I'm so excited. Thank you. Again, thank you so much. An icon. I
had fun. Y'all have a good night.
You too. We appreciate you being here. Oh man, it's always a good time.
Always. So like that was such a great energetic way to end this night for real. Mm-hmm. You know, so much wisdom. Telling you.
I saw you had your beer in hand. You're just a little wind down. You know, we just having fun here.
But it's a Shiner beer.
Hey,
from Texas. So, because it's a Texas night tonight.
Yeah, but no, I do agree with you, Rocky, that there's just a lot of wisdom shared, but also just a lot of, I think, inspiration. You know, like we talked about, he has a way of putting a spin on things, even the serious subjects. You know, like not being able to find toilet paper at the beginning of a pandemic. That just like anytime I walk away from an interaction with Anthony the Poet, I feel optimistic. You know,
just optimistic, and it's a way to it's our life. We only get one, and we should enjoy it, right? Mm-hmm. Don't take it seriously, but at the same time, live it and laugh. I think that's the best part.
I love it. Well, let's thank some people and go live and laugh the night away, shall we? So thank you so much to the audience. You all have been fantastic tonight. Absolutely fantastic. Really interactive. Loved your questions. Loved your comments. So please, you are such an integral part of the show. It's the reason we do them live so that we can interact with you. So thank you for joining us. And we hope this is not your last time with us.
Of course. And if you want to keep in the loop with us, go ahead and follow us on IG and Twitter, because Twitter was up and IG is still up right now compared to yesterday. At Words and Shh, right? Give us a follow, give us a like, repost us. Let us know that you like us. Just follow.
Yeah, and if you ever miss an episode, maybe this is your first time here, never fear. All of our episodes can be found at our YouTube page, youtube.com/wordsandshit, or wherever you get your podcast. It gets released as a podcast if you prefer to listen to it versus watch it. Find us wherever you get your podcast. Don't forget to rate, review, like, subscribe, all of that fun stuff.
Yeah, and come back next week, same time, same place for our next feature. Carla Cordero. Sorry. My R's were like,
It was the Shiner. It was the Shiner. So excited to be in conversation with young Chicana poet Carla Cordero. Until next time, y'all, stay safe out there.
Bendiciones, y'all.